All right. Welcome to the Buck and Mike Experience.
Experience sports like you never have before.
Where the buck stops.
And the mic drops.
Bam. Intros. Gotta love it. We're getting smooth with it. It is funny though that we do have our same intro we start, and you've literally told me before that there's YouTubers you hate because they open the same way. Maybe we'll change it up.
No, I mean it's more of like it's a repetitive like catchphrase.
Okay.
That's being
we
used.
don't really have
like
those yet.
Opening up, having an open for your show. That's a little bit different. Like I'm okay with that, but. You're telling me for 40 years I could have been doing this? No way. And it's something that's only been invented for 5 years.
Are you telling me that if we play our cards right, we can make fun of all the other YouTubers and then they'll finally watch us?
Maybe. I mean,
hey.
You know.
Not in hate, but we're going to pick on y'all for a while.
we could tell kids that, Santa Claus doesn't exist.
I do love the fact. Hey, let's chill out with all that now. But, we could always go in to do the, now you see the YouTuber.
We could lie. Like Matt Rife.
Yeah, well, true. Matt Rife, why lie about that? You're so funny. But, there's the YouTubers now, they're taking clips of other YouTubers and then they're making their videos based off that guy's video.
I don't like those
the
either,
food
man.
secrets guy, people are taking all of the recipes he's leaking and they're like, no, he's full of shit, and then they're making them. He's like, he made it in his video, he did it.
What is it called, a stitch? It's
called
stitching.
Yeah, so it's just what are we doing? No, so that said, welcome to our eventful start to rambling.
Yeah.
Good week going for you this week?
It's a lot better than it was this past weekend since I was sick, so.
Yeah, finally on the up and up?
Yeah, I still got a little bit of the phlegm, but other than that, I'm golden now.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, we had an asthma bug run through the house. We got to do a nice little ER run for the daughter to get her on the treatment, but she's good now, and then, other than that, I've been chill. Got an extra day off this weekend because I took Monday off because I got home from the hospital at 3 a.m. and I was like, I ain't gonna work. PTO, sin.
Yeah.
So, but no, other than that, not a bad week. Been chill. Kids tomorrow, their last day, and then they're going to their grandmother's for a week. So I want to have kids for a week.
So. How about your do any good betting this weekend?
No, I have not won a bet since I won the 1,000. Seriously, I've done $5, $2, $3. My normal, I usually do $1 to $2, $10 one on the weekends, and I'm not even getting close right now. Before I hit the big one, I had a couple of days where it was one rebound short, one catch short. We were oh, I'm so close, and then I hit the big one. It was almost like when the slot machine starts paying you $5, and all of a sudden you're like, I think if I do a couple more spins.
Yeah.
Now it's the slot machine paid me, and it's just
and you're there. Come on, it's going to hit again.
I left that account. I left $200 in that account. I pulled out $8. I moved $100 of it to a different app that everyone told me I need to try out. I did one turn on that app. Wasn't a fan just of how it lays out. So I pulled the money back out. I said maybe I'll do it another time. I've lost $90 in the last week and a half, I think, in just little parlays here and there. But it's what it is. Like I said, I could be worse. I still won 1,000, so it's not like I'm going into the negative in my gambling habits right now. Now, good. I also did have a start. I don't know how many fantasy leagues you started playoffs this week. I had 3 start. So I'm in 8 leagues. If we know I'm in too many, but 7 of them cost money. I made the playoffs in 6. 3 of them, can't complain about my.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Of the 3 that started this week, one and done all of them.
Wow.
Lost in first round all of them. One of them, I picked up Okonzu. Tight end.
Chigozima Okonkwo.
Yeah, picked him up, put him into the lineup, and I didn't hit the submit button to the lineup. And then I had batting practice that morning, and I forgot to check my morning lineup check. He didn't go in. I lost by 12 points. The difference in him and Juwan Johnson, who was at tight end, was 12 points. I'd at least had a tie.
Oh.
And then it would have gone to bench points, would have been the tiebreaker, and on my bench I had some guys. This is also a 2-quarterback league, and I decided that I did against the Browns with an ankle injury that's 4 to 6 weeks for most people. Did anyone think Trevor Lawrence was going to come out and throw for 3 touchdowns? No. And then when the game started and he was throwing for 25 yards and 2 picks, I was like, okay, I look like a genius for only starting 1 quarterback and just running with my 2 defense approach, because you can start 2 defenses in this league.
Really?
Yeah. And I run out.
Weird.
I have Dallas, San Fran and the Seahawks all season. I've had all 3 of them. And at least 2 of those 3, you can count on getting freaking 20 points.
Yeah.
And so I ran out. I said, screw it. Drew Lock's starting for Seattle. I'll start the 49ers. I'll start Dallas. Dallas did their job. Not Drew Lock. Drew Lock decided to go and carve the 49ers up, and I only got like 12 points. And I was like, Trevor Lawrence got 29 at the end of the day. I would have won. So that one sucked, because that was one of my bigger money leagues. And so, and then my dynasty that I led the league in scoring, I dropped an egg of 110 in the first round. The guy that beat me hung like 180. Just mollywopped me.
So basically, what you did to me this week in the final week of.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say that I got unlucky in that league. Regular season injuries caught me in the middle. They kept me out. I think I still have the best roster in our league.
Yeah, it's with Tank Dell down, like my roster is not that good anymore.
Yeah, that definitely hurt you.
Yeah, that was my big third receiver, and now I'm just kind of struggling.
I consistently look at that lineup I have 4 running backs that I could start at any week, and I'm just like, I'm flipping a coin on which one I can go matchup wise. Like, I love my roster in that league, but I think I lost 5 games in a row in the middle of the season, and it was just like, well, shit, there goes that.
Listen to this roster, okay? Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, Olave, Flowers, Laporta, Ridley. On my bench, Garrett Wilson, Kenneth Walker, Scary Terry, Dallas Goedert, Brian Robinson, and right now C.J. Stroud, because I got Kyler Murray starting because I don't know if Stroud's. I'm second to last place in that league.
Yeah. It's
with that roster.
It has been such a strange league season, like altogether. Like even this week, as I go
Ravens defense.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a great defense.
Yeah.
Like this week, even as I go into the playoffs for my other 3 leagues, one of them I'm in a really close race. Like this guy pulled off a ridiculous trade that guys should have vetoed. F every one of you that didn't vote veto, because this guy just got CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown a week before the playoffs for 1 draft pick and a player that was barely keepable in Tank Dell. Like, you can keep Tank Dell. Like, I get that. But you should have gotten more for those guys. Me and one other guy both put the veto button. The league rule is 4 vetoes. Nobody else even looked because they're all out of the playoffs. First problem, there should not be a trade deadline in any fantasy football league past week 10.
Let's see.
That's about 3 weeks prior to the playoffs.
Okay,
average.
yeah, I think whatever it...
That's what ours was. It was about week 10.
Okay.
10, maybe 11. I'll give you even week 11. But if we're starting the playoffs week 14, don't tell me you can upgrade your roster via the trade in week 13.
Yeah, no, that
like, that's not... Because this dude literally just whipped his whole lineup, and we were the 2 and the 3 seed. So I have to play the guy in the first round. And yeah, I've made moves throughout to get my guys, but I've got Chase with a Special Olympian quarterback. I've got Jefferson that's hurt. Like, I've got guys that are good, but you can't depend on them. This guy's running at full strength. So
week 13 was the trade deadline.
For our league?
Yeah.
Really? It feels like it was way earlier than that.
It says...
Because I thought it was in line with the NFL.
Trade deadline was 11/29.
Okay, so then what week are we in now?
Week 13. We are in week 15.
Okay, so then even that would have been... So I guess 2 weeks we still... But we just started the playoffs this week,
Oh,
right?
you know what? Hold on.
Isn't this the first round for ours?
That's the wrong league.
Oh, different league.
So, yeah, this is going to be the first round.
Yeah, so then that's still 2 weeks. So that falls within what we're trying to think of.
Yeah.
Our timelining, at least.
League info.
So I feel like ours was earlier than that.
Trade
deadline.
deadline.
Okay, yeah. So, no, I don't know. That was one thing. But, I don't know. We'll see. So I got 3 leagues left.
that's you know, I had a similar situation in another league where someone made a trade and then a week to basically help them out that week because they didn't want to drop anyone, and someone helped them out.
Yeah.
And the trade itself, I thought was pretty even. I was like, you know what, that's a decent trade.
Yeah.
The next week they decided to, we're going to give them back.
And that's where the problem
I tried to veto it, and everyone, and my brother was the last one in line to veto it. He was like, you know what, I just don't care. If that's the way they want to do it, that's the way they want to do it.
Yeah, but that's affecting my money.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what I was like. I was like, if it's a free league,
exactly.
Okay. This affected, even though I was statistically out of the playoffs at that point. I was like, I don't care. Like that's my money.
Exactly.
Like,
you remember when I reached out in our league group? 3 weeks prior? I said, guys, I think I'm out. I had a slight chance. As good as I felt like my roster was, I said, I think my season's over. If you give me a fair trade offer, I'll do it. I got one offer. and it wasn't an offer that I felt was good for the integrity of the league, and I'm not going to play with other people's money. So I was like, no, I can't do that, man. Sorry, decline. Like, that, it's just simple as that. Like, I understand that your money's lost at that point, but it's kind of like when you're playing blackjack and you're hitting a bus card, and they're showing 16. You don't hit that. That affects the whole table's money if you take the card that could have busted their 16. And so, I don't know. I guess I'm expecting the world to be considerate, and they're not. But
there are people in the league, especially in the league we're in, where they'll send a shady trade, and you're like,
yeah,
come on,
come
on. What's wrong with you?
If I'm trying to make real trade offer, I'm going to start out and send you a crappy offer. Like, I want you to laugh at it or engage in it.
Oh, no, I won't even.
Like,
that'll immediately turn me off. And
well,
just
there's only
one
some
back,
people.
that's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
Like, that's who I am. And
but,
then after
but
that, I won't even engage.
If we've never had a conversation before about a trade and you send me one back, I'll be like, cool, you'll at least talk. And then I'll text you and go, I was just fucking with you, but I am really interested. Like, let's carry on a conversation. Because the problem is that in varying leagues, you have people that are very active that want to trade because they're bored. Like, there are people, my buddy Preston, love the guy to death, but he'll make a trade because he's bored sometimes. Like, he'll get on there. His entire roster in our Dynasty League, I swear to God, almost the whole roster is on the trading block. He's just like, F it, I'm bored. He was posting Sunday during the games because he's the commissioner, so he can override timestamps. And he's posting during the games. Remember, y'all, deadline's not till midnight if you want to make a move before the what are you doing? Like, and so, I don't know. There's little things like that. But, yeah, no, I mean, all in all, I'm not upset with how my fantasy league went, but I have 2 money leagues left. One of them's a decent payout. One of them's my good payout. My matchups aren't the best is my worry there. But and then the last one, and I swear to you, this will be how it works. My last one's the free league. It's the Work Hilton League. I'm going to win that damn league. I'm going to be pissed.
So, I'm first place in 2 leagues and then second to last in my other one. And funny enough, the one that I'm second to last in is a league that I've back-to-back champion and won 3 times in the last 4 years.
Oh, they're all excited.
So, yeah, they're very happy that I'm
Nobody
not
cares
even
who
close
wins
to
this season. They just know Michael's not.
Like, that was the whole goal this year was beat Michael. And, I bet on Fields, and that failed. And then I bet on Garrett Wilson being really good with Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and it just... That tanked everything for me.
The Aaron Rodgers one really tanked me in one of my big leagues because Garrett Wilson was so hit or miss. Like, there were games where you'd play him, but you got to the point where you couldn't trust him.
Yep.
And then now, the only problem with Fields is he's not running like he was. He's still running, but he's playing smart. He's protecting his body. You got to be careful for that.
Because I also bet on having Anthony Richardson, and he got hurt.
Oh, yeah.
And luckily... I also had once I got rid of Fields, I picked up C.J. Stroud, and I was like, I'll just run 2 rookie quarterbacks, and
Stroud worked out for most.
And Stroud worked out like the first couple weeks when because I started Anthony Richardson over Stroud, the first couple weeks once Richardson was out, Stroud struggled a little bit, and I lost those games, and then he turned it on. And I had a big win streak, and I was like, "Oh man, I have a possible shot to make the playoffs right now." And then he got a concussion, and that completely just playoff shot down the drain.
Yeah, it's been. I know last year was a heavy injury year at the quarterback position, but I think this year, more than others, has been the most insane levels of just injuries, and just it's not even little injuries.
Yeah,
it's
massive injuries.
Achilles, it's thumb surgeries. Like, we've got 2 quarterbacks down with the same thumb surgery in Herbert and Burrow.
Yep.
We've got 2 quarterbacks in Cousins and Rodgers that are down for Achilles. Now, Rodgers swears he's coming back. We'll see. Week 16 was his deadline. That's in 2 weeks. So, but you've got that. You've got Mahomes hasn't been injured. Like, you can say that at least. Tua hasn't stayed healthy.
He's just got Matt Nagy and receivers that don't want to catch the ball.
And don't do the simplest. I mean, look, I just defended you, Kadarius Toney, last week. Last week I defended you. Listen, I've never played receiver in my life. I was always too slow. But when I play flag football, we all play receiver. And even in flag football, I get on the line of scrimmage. I go here, and then I do this. What is that doing? That's pointing at the who? The ref. And what's his job to tell you to do? Hey, back up.
So, I'll say
Idiot.
this. They've gone over, like on Twitter, they have gone over this over and over. He apparently lined up that way the entire game, and not once was called, not once checked. Referee never once told him, hey, you need to get off that line. Not at all.
If he
And then that final
that
final
changes
one,
everything.
they called it on him. And then, whenever you looked at the Miami game, Waddle did the same exact thing. He lined up like right there at that exact spot where it was just right there, right in front.
Yeah.
And they didn't call it. Like, they didn't call it on Tony that entire game until that last play.
See, I did not realize it was an issue the whole game. I just know that. Now, that said, though, I still think your first mistake as a receiver is not checking.
Is not checking.
You should check.
He should have checked.
Any time that you're not lining up connected to the line of scrimmage following the formation of the line, if you're on the outside, you check. Because there's there's a ref on either side. It takes 2 seconds for them to nod their head. So I'm still going to put that on Tony because that's wide receiver 101.
Yeah.
That, it is. But if he did get a pass the whole game, then yes, there's a problem. There is a huge problem because it was a great play.
Yeah.
Kelsey could not have thrown a better ball back to Tony of all people. And then he catches it and walks into the end zone. Like, you're thinking, I was about to look like a genius. Thanks, Darius, Tony, and then you fuck. But
it is crazy because the whole world blamed him. But once you started listening to some of the people on Twitter and I forgot which one it was, but he said, I went through every single play. And every single play that he was lined up on the outside, he lined up the same exact way. And they never once called it. Until that last play, they just decided to call it that time. And so the fact that Mahomes threw his little hissy fit, he had kind of a reason to throw it because
it had been that way the whole
game. It had been that way the whole game. And then at the end of the game, you decided to call the game a different way. So that was what he was complaining about.
Which makes sense.
Why are you calling the game this way all the way up until the last play, and now all of a sudden you're changing how you're going to call the guy lined up? Like, stay consistent. If you're not going to call it the entire game, you can't call it then.
And that makes sense. See, that part is what I didn't catch.
Yeah. I mean, it was all, it's like, I'm more on Twitter than I am anything else, or X.
Yeah.
And that was, a lot of the people I follow, that was something that they just kind of, they were like, look, you have to look at this. You have to understand that.
Yeah.
They just didn't call it. And then they decided, we're doing it this time.
And it really, and
it sucks.
To cap it in, it's...
Don't line up that way.
Well, oh, for sure. And it kind of capped off, it wasn't a cap off, it was in the middle of what it was a wild weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, matchup-wise, the Bills kind of righted the ship with the win. Like, you have to give them a little bit there. That's a little bit of a riding the ship.
Yeah, that was something that they needed to do.
The 49ers, they stay strong, but then you start looking at some of these, you had a 3-0 final score. Like, that's awful. 3-0? Like, I don't care if you're playing with backup quarterbacks. Then you had the Colts get mollywopped by the Bengals. Jake Browning's out here dealing 2 weeks in a row now. All your projected seasons were like, well, they're done. Browning sucks. Well, no, hold up. Let's hold the front.
Backup quarterbacks are doing something this year.
The Steelers, the last 2 weeks in a row, have lost to 2-10 teams, and I think the Steelers are going to go below 500. I look at the rest of their schedule without Kenny Pickett. It ain't Trubisky.
No.
And we know that the Steelers don't lose. Like, the Steelers don't go below 500. They've never gone below 500. But then you look at their season over the next 4 games, and you're going, they got the Colts.
Okay.
All right, Colts didn't look great, but the Colts should be able to bounce back and get a win. Then they play the...
Well, T.J. Watt has been cleared.
Okay, but I don't know that T.J. Watt makes up for Mitchell Trubisky.
No.
See, that's the thing. Then you go to the Bengals, who now you can't rule
other
out
than T.J. Watt,
car passing.
the defense really has been very
average.
Yeah.
They've had moments where they're like, oh, they look pretty good, and then there are moments where they're like, eh.
Yeah.
But then they play the Bengals, who now you have to assume, I'm not saying that's the normal Jake Browning, but Jake Browning's looking like a plus backup. Then you go, where is it at here? Steelers run into, it gets really confusing on this little bitty icons. Oh, they play Seattle in Seattle, who you don't know what Seahawks team you're going to get, but it's a home game.
Yeah.
And then you run the last game of the season, it's the Ravens,
Baltimore.
who's playing for the 1 seed. Like, they could go 0-4, finish the season at 7-10.
Wow.
Like, it is wild how the Bucks go ahead and make the log jam of 6 and 7s on top of that division stay. You've got like the Browns. The Browns do the most Browns thing ever with Joe Flacco's contract this week. Now they were able to retain him. I think there's no issues, but you don't risk it. If you don't know, what they did was they put him back on the practice squad, presumably to save $100,000, probably. Rather than just leaving him on the active roster, where it would have made him eligible for any team in the league to sign him. With all the injuries at quarterback, you better be glad nobody wanted him. Because he's bald. He's played good enough to play for anybody. And on that defense, all he's got to be is Trent Dilfer.
I'll say this. I'm going to say this. What Flacco is proving right now is that the coaching staff in New York is not good. Or at least the offensive coaching staff, because he played with the Jets last year.
Absolutely.
And he didn't look that good. Wilson has not looked good,
now,
ever.
They changed offensive coordinators this year, but they
to,
went to the guy who the Broncos coach called an idiot.
Hackett, there you go.
Yeah, and we crapped on Sean Payton for that. And I still think Sean Payton's an coach. But you know what? I'm shutting up. Because that defense in Denver is balling right now. Russell Wilson is looking better. He's not looking like Russ, but he's looking better. Cortland Sutton, my guy, have a season. You know, he's like 3rd in the league in touchdowns or something.
Is he?
He's like 3rd or 4th in the league in touchdowns. Like, I know he's in the top 5.
Dang.
But you go into the season and you're like, well, you got Jerry Jeudy that's a young weapon. He really hasn't made that next step. They don't really have any running back that just grabbed the backfield. Marvin Mims has had some flash plays, but not a lot of touches.
Javonte hasn't really... It doesn't seem like he's fully recovered from his ACL. Because he tore his ACL last year. So it doesn't... And then he got hurt earlier this season. So it doesn't look like he's fully healthy, but he's better than everything else that they got, so they still use him.
And then you have to... And you look at their schedule.
Because I love Javonte coming out of North Carolina.
Yeah.
Like, I was so jealous that the Broncos drafted him.
Oh, yeah, and they play the Lions this week, which the Lions need to bounce back. But you can't say that the Lions aren't willing. We've seen the Lions a lion. Like, that's what they're capable of doing. And then they have run into... I keep losing that little icon. Oh, they play the Patriots, so that's a win. There's 2 wins for the Broncos. Then they play the Chargers with... Was it Nick Easton or Easton Stick?
Easton Stick.
Stick. Well, they're beating him. There's 3 wins. And then the Broncos...
Well, unless he doesn't do well, Max Duggan is the new backup.
Okay, so they're beating them. And then...
He was signed off the practice squad after
and then they play
all
the
season
Raiders.
long of no one going, don't want that dude.
And then they play the Raiders in Oakland, who just gave up 3 points, or scored 3 points, or lost.
Where are they from?
3-0. Sorry, Vegas. They might as well go back to Oakland. They don't look like shiny object. But the Broncos could damn well finish the season 4-0 and be at 11-6.
Vegas is getting the A's also, so.
Yeah. Vegas, you did a great job getting teams. We didn't say you were going to... Thank God for the Golden Knights. Because that's your only success story. No, but you look at some of these teams, like... And then I talk about the fact that the Monday night flop job... You watch the Packers, who were looking in Fuego, get done in... You like how I skipped the game first? We watched Tommy DeVito go out there and roll off his 3rd in a row against the Packers. And then, did you know that, you remember the movie Coming to America?
Uh-huh.
There's a scene where he's talking to
the
manager.
I saw the video.
And he's like, did you watch the football game where the guy kicked an oblong ball through a triangle to win the game? It was the Packers and the Giants.
I did see that one.
And then we get to the real embarrassing story where you have a 13-point lead with less than 3 minutes left in the game, and you lose to the Will Levis-led Titans and the Miami Dolphins. And now... You realize that the Dolphins' offense hasn't been good 2 weeks in a row now. Tyreek Hill's now banged up in multiple ways, an ankle and it was a rib or something. So you got 2 injuries going on there. And then you go and play, this week you play the Jets, who you should beat, but you've already played them once. They're a division rival. You can't rule out division rivals in any way, shape, or form.
And they're going to be playing Tyreek differently than they did the last time.
Exactly. And then you're going to run out and play Dallas at home, but you still have to play Dallas, who is playing very good football right now.
Daddy Dak is something else. That's MV Prescott.
Yeah.
MV Prescott.
Oh,
baby.
my goodness. Then you run, though, into Baltimore, who is playing for a conference championship. And then you run into Buffalo, who owns the Dolphins. Like, the Dolphins might not make the playoffs. Because if they go 1-3 down the stretch, the Broncos run through their candy schedule. They're 11-6. Cleveland runs through, or even does, I think they only have to do 1-2 or 2-2 or 3-1 down the stretch, and they're 10-7. The Colts are still sitting right there in it. Jacksonville's going to get apparently never going to lose Trevor Lawrence, and they're going to be able to win games. So you sit there and go, well, shit, Dolphins, you ain't even making the playoffs.
I'm very surprised that he played, considering the fact that they said it was a high ankle sprain. And then he went out and balled.
He balled. He started like crap, and I was like, he is not healthy. He should not play. I spent $75 of free agent auction money on C.J. Beathard in a league just to have a second quarterback for him not to play.
Oh, my goodness. Well, so there are some other little nuggets that, you talked about some of the teams. So, like Tommy DeVito, is he?
He's better than Danny Dimes.
Is he better than Danny Dimes?
That would be amazingly funny.
Because
greatest
he kind
story
of looks
ever.
like it.
He's looked good. He's won 3 in a row.
Like,
He's got
Dayball is a god. Like, other than the fact that, he plays for an NFC East rival, or coaches for an NFC East rival, he's a really good coach. He made Daniel Dimes good enough to get a stupid contract, and now he's making Tommy DeVito look like a fairly decent quarterback.
I didn't even know Tommy DeVito was a guy that could use his legs, and boy went for 71 yards on 10 carries.
I saw that.
I was like, what?
Because a buddy of mine had Saquon Barkley and needed him to do well, and I was like, oh, man, you got this,
I took the under, and that didn't work out.
I looked at it, and I was at one point, I was like, why does he not have very many rushing yards? And I went and looked at stats, I was like,
QBR,
because DeVito?
His QBR is 26 still.
Wow. But yeah, he's looked really good. And then him and Zach Wilson, both of them won Players of the Week.
Yeah, in the worst Player of the Week conversation ever. You have Zach Wilson, who at the same time he's getting Player of the Week, came out and said that the Jets have agreed to trade me in the offseason because of the last benching. I'm only playing to finish the season.
Actually, let me write this down, because I got 3 teams. I didn't even think about this until just now.
I don't want to hear a team thinks Jack Wilson should be their starting quarterback.
I wouldn't say starting quarterback, but what are 2 or 3 teams that you think could benefit of having him on the roster just in case?
Based off the fact that he is athletic, like he can get out and move a little bit if he needed to, I would want to put him in a system where there's a guy that could escape a little like that. So that puts me to teams like the Colts, not knowing what's going to happen with Minshew next season, because he's going to be a guy that's an option in free agency. If Tampa decides to run out with Baker next year, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't think it is, but I would say that that's a very similar style of play. Like
that's one thing that I have.
Yeah, I would say that would be a team that makes sense. I'm trying to think here. Buffalo could use a guy maybe, but no. I don't know if he stays in that division.
Let me. So you said Tampa. So I do have 3 other teams that I also thought about. One I just added, but the 3 that I had, Tampa Bay was one of them.
Yeah.
The other one is the Rams, because you've got Stafford. You're not 100% sure,
and you've proven
about
that
his future.
True.
But you got Sean McVay, who made Baker Mayfield look pretty damn good.
Yes, he did.
Last year.
I can see that.
So you could have Zach Wilson there, not as the guy that you're hoping to start, but just in case Stafford goes down, you'll have somebody
Stafford
back there
always goes down.
that you can kind of count on, and you can count McVay on making him a little bit better.
Yes.
So, in my opinion, you want to get him somewhere where there is a good offensive mind. The next one,
Denver. Now that you're saying teams, that one makes sense to me.
well, Detroit is the other one. So I know they drafted Hendon Hooker last year, but Hooker has been injured all year.
He's active now, I think.
He's out.
Oh, he's out
He's
again.
out.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know if they
So
activated his window.
he's not even 100% yet. Next year, if you bring in Wilson, you don't have to worry too much about if Hooker's going to be ready, or if you bring him in if you have him in the same quarterback room and you find out, well, I guess Hooker's really not that good. Then you'll have someone
'cause you're
good enough to be back.
You're still
there that you
competing
can
for the
trust.
backup. Goff, as inconsistent as he's been the last couple weeks, is still locked in safely to his job. He's not going anywhere.
And then the last one is Washington, because of what you were talking about with the running and stuff.
Yes,
Sam Howell
can
like,
play the same system.
It depends on who's the head coach.
That's that could change a
because
lot.
if they decide to fire,
They're gonna fire
Riverboat Ron, and they decide to try to hire Eric Bieniemy to be the head coach, which would be the smart thing to do because he just made Sam Howell look like a fairly decent quarterback when he's up.
He can sling the rock, but he doesn't. I'm trying to think.
If he was with another offensive coordinator, I don't think he would be.
I don't know.
Near as
Yeah,
good.
and I don't know that. Now that part of it could be the system, but he does. Even though he'll turn the ball over, his turnovers cause him to be away from some of his bigger targets.
Yeah.
Like you haven't seen Dotson hasn't done anything that shows that he's actually stepped back from his rookie year into this year. You just don't see him getting target share. See, Scary Terry, another guy who has been proven competitive ball catcher guy. Like, go let him be that guy. And he literally had a game where he played cardio ball and didn't even see a target while literally playing all offensive snaps. Like, that's impressive.
Yeah.
It's like those guys that play in an NBA game and do zeros. Like, so
Like it just that's one of them to me that I just added because it made sense because Sam Howell, like, to me, it's more of, hey, we're going to get this guy as a backup. Like, we're likely going to try to draft a guy, but if we don't end up getting one because they get taken before us or something, we'll at least have someone somewhat steady behind our quarterback just in case they get injured. Like, that to me is what Zach Wilson is going to be now. Like, I don't expect a team to trade for him to try to start him. It's going to be...
could even go to Chicago.
No, they'll have a starting quarterback.
They have a starting quarterback.
No, they'll have a starting quarterback.
'Cause
they're going to have the number one pick.
They're going to have the number one pick, but I'm just telling you that I read an article again today that says that you don't be shocked if Fields continues to progress like he has, that they keep him.
All that's doing, like, he's showed some improvement, but the improvement from everything that I've been listening to is it's improvement. It's not improvement, it's improvement.
I've seen a few variations of it
Good
where
job,
they're like,
but you are still. Next year is your contract year, and we're still trying to figure out if you can be this.
and that's where I think I've heard some teams say that, or I've seen some say that they might, if they see continued progression throughout the season, they keep it. I've seen some that say teams like Tampa, Atlanta, teams that are going to be middle of the first round that might not have a chance to get
To me, it's
some of those top ones.
Yeah.
They would be willing to say, you know what, hey, Chicago, we'll give you as high as a second round pick. Which
It'll
if you're
be-
Chicago, how do you turn down a second round
So
pick?
it'll be a second round pick. It'll be a second plus like maybe a fourth.
Wouldn't be shocked if you're the Bears, because I mean that Poles dude's a good GM, so I'm not gonna knock him. I wouldn't be shocked if he parlays a deal where he gets a second this year and a fifth next year, but it says that if Fields plays, because you got to factor Fields injuries, like that's gonna be part of any deal that comes down. If Fields plays in 60% of the snaps, it jumps up to a fourth, like we've seen them do. If he plays in 75% of the snaps, you see.
I don't know if there are
because if he plays that
contracts
many, he could be winning games.
that are like that jump that much. I know they jump one round.
I've seen them. I know that I've read them jump as high as 3. Like I've seen them know. I've seen some of them that escalated from like it was a 5th round pick. Like I thought the one with Rodgers was supposed to escalate up to 3 rounds, where it would have moved him into a 1st round pick next year.
It was a second round to a first.
Okay, then maybe that was. I know I've seen some that at least went 2.
Like they got the 1st round that year.
Yes,
And then the
next
following year was a second that would become a first if he played so many snaps.
Okay.
So that's why they're keeping their first this year, is because he didn't.
Because he definitely didn't make the
He
minimum
played
trades.
like 2 snaps. But yeah, so there's going to be a game in Brazil in 2024. The SoFi Stadium, the Rams are going to be hosting the 2027 Super Bowl.
Yeah, we're gonna just start seeing a rotation, I think, where it goes to SoFi, Miami, New Orleans, occasionally a new city, like where Vegas will get it, and then it just stays.
It's only going to go to the ones that are state of the art. Like for all those stadiums that want to stay true to that old style, like they're not going to get it. Like they keep it in those state of the art ones.
Yeah, and they're in the cities that they've proven to have success.
Yeah,
like New Orleans has been a very good host for the Super Bowl.
Dallas.
Miami has. Dallas got one shot, and weather effed them, and they're not getting another one because of it. Like that's solely the reason why Dallas has not getting another Super Bowl is because we proved we can't drive in the snow to the entire world. The ice, excuse me. Like they're just glad that the Packers bus didn't wreck on the way to the game. Like.
Also, the other big news, Belichick, is it's not confirmed by any big name, but it's out there, and
multiple reports are saying,
and they even tried to ask him today, and he just deflected and didn't say anything. So, very obvious that he's likely done. But
whether it's
we brought it
done,
we brought it up.
We did. We talked about it
last week or 2 weeks ago.
Would it because it was when we were talking about Mike Vrabel because Mike Vrabel. Might not be in Tennessee, but he couldn't be shocked if you're in a situation from where, I mean, because Belichick did sign an extension this offseason. Like, remember he had that whole hush-hush extension. So, theoretically, if someone wanted to trade for Bill Belichick, they traded for Sean Payton. Why the hell wouldn't you trade for Bill Belichick?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if
I don't know that I want to drag in an 80-year-old coach that wants to control everything, but...
That, and it's going to take too long to implement the system.
The New England way.
Yeah.
That's what
it's going to take too long to implement that.
Yeah.
And at his age, I don't think he'd want to do that. So, to be honest, I think it's something that I think it's more amicable of going, it's time.
And the other thing that I think you're seeing with him is that he's trying to build a personality.
Yeah, like the college game day. Yeah.
He's trying to, I think he's trying to see if he can prepare for that world after football. Because if he doesn't coach anymore, he still, I think, wants to be around the game. Like, he wants to in some capacity, and I think by him doing the Lee Corso bit with the helmet and all that was him kind of saying, like, yeah, I'm the grumpy hoodie guy, but I can make you laugh, too. Like, he's trying to not always be a dick.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. Screw him. He's Bill Belichick.
Yeah. And then, the big thing, so the Vikings with Nick Mullins being a starter now, because the astronaut who turned into the pastronaut, who turned into the disastronaut, has now been benched.
If you hadn't figured out yet that he wasn't that good in the first place, there's a reason he's been on
multiple teams.
And you know who looks like the biggest genius of everybody right now, right?
The Cardinals.
Because the Cardinals only got a 7th round pick for him, or a 6th, whatever it was. The freaking Browns, for never even giving him a chance to be in their QB room with all the issues they've had.
Yeah.
They recognized from day one in the preseason that it was DTR, the kid from the XFL, and
the one that they cut.
Deshaun Watson. Yeah, the one they cut. But
PJ Tucker.
They pointed out day one, you're not good enough to start over DTR. So
that was more because he was young.
Yeah, but
he was probably better than DTR, but because DTR really hasn't.
No, he hasn't done much at all. But I mean, he also got hurt. Was it the first game he got hit and had the concussion? So it's not like we've seen him prolongingly play. Hell, the Browns are ready to run DTR out no matter how good Flacco's playing because they almost ran DTR out this week and then Flacco threw 3 touchdowns. So I don't know. There's so much wildness going on in this NFL. Like I've been saying, I play with this little machine now, like twice a week, and I can just sit here and flip 900 switches and go. I can realistically see how this happens. Like I can see how. Yeah, because
there's literally still 30 teams in playoff contention right now.
Yeah, I was looking at a map that says that the Detroit Lions are 9-4 right now. The Packers are 10-7, but you look at the last 4 games for the Packers and realize they could finish 10-7, and the Lions 11-6, and it'd be a 1-game race at the end of the division. Like, it's just insane how close so many of these races are. Dallas and Philly, if both teams win out at the end of the season, have to use the most. They would break down to like the 6th tiebreaker in order to actually figure out why Philly wins the division over Dallas. Like, they're tied in every other. It was, let's see. Oh no, their tiebreaker procedures. Here it is. One would be the champion with the best record. They had the same record, it would have been. The division champion with the second best record. Okay, no, that's the tiebreakers. Down here it is. 2-team tiebreaker. Head-to-head record, Dallas and Philly would have split. Best win-loss for percentage in games played within the division. They have the exact same record in division. Best win-loss tied percentage in common games. I think that was one that they were trying to do the math on, if that one could do, but if both teams win out, it becomes the same. Best one-loss tied percentage in games played within the conference. That one becomes
Dallas.
No, I think Dallas is holding an edge now, but because of how it runs out, Philly is able to tie it in a weird way because it also factors in other teams. It's best win-loss and tied percentage in games played within the conference. The way, I don't know, I was listening to it all on the radio, and they basically said that it literally will come down to strength of schedule, which is 6th. And Philly would edge out Dallas in strength of schedule because they came in a first place schedule for the season, basically. Yeah. And so you're just sitting there looking at it like, oh, like, and so yeah, it's crazy what kind of the scenarios. Well, like you said, 30 teams with 4 weeks left. The only teams that are eliminated right now
Carolina and New England.
Carolina, New England.
That's it.
Yeah, because Arizona. I'm trying to think. How is Arizona at currently 3-10 not eliminated? But then I look at the AFC and realize that my 7th seed right now in the playoff picture was the Green Bay Packers, and they're 6-7. So never mind. Everyone has a chance.
They're mathematically still in it, even though they're
They can lose this week because they play San Fran this week, so they'll be eliminated this week because San Fran is steamrolling teams right now. But that said, we don't dive overly into it, but looking at some of these weeks, because it does play the game a little bit, we have some games that don't matter. The Raiders and the Chargers. Give me the Raiders because who cares? The Bengals and the Vikings, that game has implication because of how good we've talked about what's his name's been playing. I think the Bengals can win it.
But the Vikings defense has been really good.
Also true. That's the other part of it. It's like the Vikings defense is realizing that we've got to win football games for them. And I don't know. Did you see it? Is it Merciless? He's played, I believe I'm saying his name right. He's played at least 20 snaps at every position on their defense. Across the board. Corner, safety, slot. He has played every...
What is it?
I saw it on Facebook today. Let me see if I can find it. Vikings defense. Let's see. Vikings defense.
Wise?
I'm trying to find the guy's name. Roster. 2023 roster. They have Anthony Barr now. They signed him.
Josh Metellus.
No. Yes, maybe you said it. No. Yes. Josh Metellus. That's the guy.
I was about to say that.
He's
sounds
the backup.
Like the name that you
Yeah, he's the backup to Harrison Smith.
Okay.
But he's played corner some. He's played defensive line some to bring a speed rush, I guess, because he's a strong dude too. Like, they've used him at every level on their defense for a multitude of snaps. Like, insane. Daniel Hunter's actually dropped off because remember he was leading the league at sacks at one point, and he's kind of fallen off while the rest of the team picked it up. I don't know. It's just. I mean, but you look at it though, and you realize, like you said, the defense, but then their offense is so bad that I feel like I have to give credit to them. Then we talked about the Colts play the Steelers, and I just don't have the ability to have faith in any team that's led by Trubisky right now.
I mean, do we really have that much faith in Gardner Minshew other than you?
I have more faith in Gardner Minshew than I do Mitchell Trubisky. But you know the other thing I say that is, but the Colts, of their 7 wins right now, 5 of them are on the road, and this is a home game. So to be honest, who knows? I still say Colts in what is a game. A good football game right here, though. Preseason, if I'd have told you that we would have really needed to know what happens in a Denver Bronco versus Detroit Lion game, would you believe me? It's a huge game. It's a huge game.
After what happened to Denver with Miami, like I never would have even cared what happened because I thought they were just done. I was like, oh no, this is not good.
Not at all. But then you look and realize that the Lions are clawing for their life to try to stay relevant as a 3 seed and even in their own division because if with the Packers having it soft, the Lions need this win.
Yeah.
But the Broncos that defense has been ridiculous the last 6 weeks. Like they saw what Miami did to them and they did the total opposite of just quitting. They were like, we are not getting embarrassed like that again.
I mean, that's what happens when you have Sean Payton as your head coach. Defensive minded guy.
He is, and I'm wondering who's running the bounties. No, no, but like, it's a toss-up game. Like, you want to say the Lions have a bounce-back game, but you can't be mad if the Broncos win. Like, it's then, like I said, Dolphins play the Jets. They better fucking win. Like, you ain't got much choice after what you just did. But then the Texans play the Titans. Is C.J. Stroud playing this week?
Right now, he is. As far as we know, he is not playing.
Well,
he hasn't practiced yet.
The Will Levis I watched play this weekend's beating Davis Mills at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, and that's going to kill their season if you're Houston.
Yeah, it will. I mean, but you know what? They have massively improved. So.
True, they have, but it's still.
It's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt, but having Davis Mills is just not.
Yeah, no. They tried that already.
Yeah. But then you run in and you're like, the Packers play the Bucks. The Packers are fighting for the playoffs and even a chance at the division. The Bucks are fighting for the division.
Their defense has kind of been sketchy.
And it's in Green Bay, so I'm going to take the Packers at Lambeau. But it's so tight. Especially what we just watched the Packers do last week.
Yeah, that'd be a tough game for Mike Evans, though.
Absolutely. Hard game for Mike Evans. It's probably not going to be a great weather game.
He came off of a bad game last week.
Exactly. Then you look at the next one, and it should seem like this game has no meaning at all. But you've got Tommy DeVito, who's won 3 games in a row for the Giants, and the Saints need a win. It's at the Superdome. I'm going to say that the
that's
Saints.
The other one. I thought Derek Carr
wasn't
not going to play.
He's got a list of injuries, and they're like, they have so little faith in Jameis Winston that they're like, Derek Carr, here's a wheelchair, go play quarterback.
Yeah.
What are we like? I don't get it. I don't know where this is. And so,
because I was like, Jameson Olave is going. That's going to be a connection.
Like I was ready for deep balls, and I get it. I was like, what?
And then I saw the first thing, and I saw Derek Carr. I was like, man, I thought he was out.
No.
Like, what the heck?
There were so many last-minute guys that I was shocked they were playing that I didn't... That was things that mess with fantasy rosters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But then you run. Panthers play the Falcons. Falcons have to win. And the Falcons look better. But you got to win if you want to win the division. Like, there's 3 teams that suck. They're all fighting for their division life. And after this week, if they all do, you're looking at 7-7 Atlanta, 7-7 New Orleans, and 6-8 Tampa if saying Tampa loses to Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Like... Then the Bears play the Browns. Joe Flacco's playing really good. It's a great defense. The Bears have played better, but how do you say that the Browns aren't going to win that game? Like, even in the Bears, don't sleep on that defense. The Bears defense is finally, now they did lose
Yannick
and Ngakoue today for the season, but like, the Bears defense has been very good the last month.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of good defense we've seen lately, I want to know what we have to accredit that to bad quarterback play from injuries versus good defense. But we have seen a lot of teams playing very good defense the last month. It
does seem like the offenses are slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, but then Kansas City bounced back against New England because everyone's going to beat New England. Did you see Cunningham? Malik Cunningham got claimed, and they never even put him in a game. They were like, screw it, we're not even going to give him a chance. Like, what are you doing?
And then Trent Brown basically said, happy you're somewhere where they actually treat you well. Like, New England's not a place to be right now.
No, like, everyone's getting out of there. New England, I want to be honest.
It's a dumpster
even when they were, like, winning, like, I just would not want to play there. I don't want to play anywhere that plays football outside north of the Mason-Dixon. Because in January, I have to play football.
Play in the elements.
Fuck no. the frozen tundra. No, I don't want to play in the frozen tundra. I like feeling my hands. I don't like playing when it's 45 degrees outside.
I mean, I will say this, though. I think it's going to be another bad game for Mahomes. I think the Chiefs win, but I think it's going to be another bad game because it's still a Belichick defense.
Yeah, it will. I will say I hope the trend of Rice continuing to look better goes well because he had of all as bad as the receiving core as a whole has been. Rice has played good football. 7 for 72 last week. He had a 100-yard week the week before. Like, I'm in a situation where I'm torn if I'm starting Jefferson, Chase, or Rice because I have a better quarterback in Rice, but I have better wide receivers in the other two.
Yeah.
Like, these are things you're having to debate. But then you roll in San Francisco ends the Cardinals season. That's effectively going to end it. With how this league's going this year, the Cardinals
definitely
will win the game.
believe so. Definitely believe that one.
Yeah. Then you have...
But again, Cardinals defense is actually pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as their offense can kind of do something.
Anything. Then you run into the Chargers playing Washington, or the Rams playing Washington. You have to assume the Rams are going to win. I mean, the Rams are such a weird team.
But
because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, Washington could come out and...
Exactly, because it's their defense.
Sam Howell could actually kind of look good.
Their defense for the Rams, we expected it to be terrible. And then they had a flash where they were like, damn, they're not that bad. And then last week they were just kind of like, oh, they're not that good.
Yeah.
So, like, what Rams defense shows up? Because we know Stafford can sling it. If Stafford's healthy, Puka, Kupp, Kyron Williams, that dude's a stud.
Yes, he
They
is.
need to do whatever they can to keep him on the field because that boy is a stud. All that. But then you run into the next 3 games are all really good football games here. Dallas and Buffalo. In Buffalo,
that's going to be a tough one.
both teams playing, probably going into this game, some of their better football. I can say this, I need Dallas to win this game for my Dolphins. But I think that it being a road game, coming off the big win in Philadelphia, I wouldn't be shocked if we see this be the stumble game. Which surely I'd rather it be next week in Miami, but I could see it. Josh Allen.
It's possible. I think it's more likely in Miami than it is Buffalo. Buffalo's defense really, it hasn't been what it should be.
True.
Tre'Davious White has been Tre'Davious White, but the rest of it really hasn't been what it's been because I think Milano, and who it is, he's out for the year.
Yes.
Or Klein, one of them.
Yeah, something like that.
One of those, they're out for the year. So, like, without them, the defense isn't as good as it should be.
No.
And I think that this is going to be one of those. Gilly is going to be on Diggs. And Gilly hasn't been playing really well here lately.
He did. He looked great last week, but in the same boat, I think that the matchup that really will decide this football game is going to be Bland versus Gabriel Davis. It sounds insane, but Gabriel, hear me out here. Gabe Davis is one of those guys that every once in a while splash for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then you look at it and you're like, damn, like, why can't he be more consistent? This is a game that he can be primed to do that. Because we know Bland...
it's going to be Knox. Or not Knox, but
Kincaid.
Kincaid.
Which, with the linebacker issues Dallas have right now, that's very likely. Underneath to Cooks is likely because of the injuries at linebacker. I think that if they're rolling out away from Parsons, the legs of Josh Allen are a huge part of the game too.
Yeah.
But I think that there's going to be a couple of balls that are big plays down the field where the aggressive nature of Bland either wins it or loses it. Because if he gets too aggressive, Gabe Davis is, 6'2"? I mean, he's not a little guy. Like, he's 6'2", 6'3".
I think he's like 6'3".
Yeah.
Maybe 6'3".
Whereas Bland is, 5'11"? Like, there's a little bit of a height difference here. So if Allen can get that ball down the field to him, there's a legitimate possibility.
6'2".
Yeah, there's a legitimate possibility that you're looking at that aggressive nature being the thing that hurts.
Bland, 6 foot.
See, so it's only about 2 inches. It's not as big of a height gap. I don't know, but I think that'd be the thing to watch. I think that the second corner versus second wide receiver matchup could be a really big matchup. Because the only thing that we saw...
32-inch arms, though.
Who, Bland does?
Yeah.
We saw Bland have issues in coverage because of his aggression a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not susceptible to that play happening. But we also factor in what the weather's going to be like in Buffalo and everything else. I think watching my Dolphins enough that I'm more worried that y'all are going to road stomp us. We just lost to Tennessee because our offense was absent-minded. We lost our all-pro center this week. Connor Williams torn ACL, done for the season.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so we just lost our he was a all-pro player level, and if you go look at all the Pro Football Focus grades, he's the highest-rated center all season.
Don't call him all-pro if he ain't
He's
all-pro.
going to be an all-pro this season.
No, he ain't all-pro.
He was. He was about to.
He's not all-pro. Do not call a player all-pro that's not all-pro.
I was just foreshadowing. But my point is, like, he's been that good. Like, he's been an all-pro level. Has that better
All-pro
for
level.
you? Yeah.
There you go.
He's had an all-pro level season. He had a very good season last year.
Yeah.
Like, you just lost him. Your offensive tackle in Armstead's been banged up. There's a chance he might not play in the next couple of weeks. So if we run into a situation with no Armstead, no Connor Williams,
Wow.
like
Connor Williams doesn't get a revenge game against the Cowboys.
yeah, like and Tua's played getting rid of the ball well, but Tua's looking more system-y than Brock Purdy is this season right now. And then if Tyreek Hill comes out of the lineup, we watched how bad the Dolphins are.
Yeah.
Because you just stacked Jalen Waddle, and you want Raheem Mostert to beat you.
I mean,
and
first,
I don't know where Devin Kane went Monday night.
like, if you're, that's kind of the weird thing. Is like if Tyreek is going to be out, why not have Achane fill that role?
I don't understand it. He had 7 carries on Monday night in the first half for 47 yards, 6.5 yards a carry. In the second half, he caught 2 balls for 18 yards. That's it.
Well, he
Like, didn't even give him the rock on the ground.
he did get injured that when he came back, and then they kept him out precautionary.
Yeah. Then he had a
and
great
then
game
yeah.
the next week. He led the team in touches. He saw the most carries out
Was
of
it?
the back.
I thought they had a bye week.
No, he played.
Did
The next week he scored 2 more touchdowns. He had like 18 carries. So I was all hyped about having him in any starting lineup. Yeah, because he comes back here.
He came back, then they kept him out that game.
Yeah,
and
and then he goes for
against
72 and
Washington.
17 for 72 and 2 touchdowns or whatever it was. Like, had a good football game. So you think you're going to continue to feed this kid because you need to win games. He just went ghost in the second half. They didn't even give him the ball. And then all they do on the outside is that they just double stack on Waddle. So that Waddle can't get everything open all on his own. And then you're running out guys like, we don't have any size. That's been our problem all season.
Yeah.
That's been the issue
the way
all year.
That's why they built the roster.
Yeah, that's why they brought in Chase Claypool to bring some kind of height to it. He can't even make the active lineup. I mean, like, that's the problem. Like, we're running out guys like Chosen Anderson and what's the little Braxton Berrios?
What? No, that's Robbie Chosen now.
Stop it. Give me them stupid names.
That's what
I
he
know.
finally he changed it again so that it said Chosen on the back.
Yeah, stupid.
Because he's so stupid
Yeah.
that he changed his name to Chosen Anderson and was like, oh, that's not going to be on my jersey.
But
I guess I need to change my name again.
I don't know. With it being a road game, knowing how good Buffalo plays at home and their home field advantage, I'm still going to say that this might be the week that bites Dallas. Like, that's why I would lean that. And then the Sunday night game is Jacksonville versus Baltimore. The Jags, they're not running away with their division. Like,
No.
that's why Trevor Lawrence had to play on a bum ankle. But damn, the Baltimore Ravens look good.
Like it took Lamar a little bit of an adjustment whenever he lost Andrews to start looking at the receivers more.
And to utilize Likely. Earlier in the season, when Andrews was out, it didn't feel like they were using the other tight ends. They felt like it almost like they didn't feel like they could use them the same way. But then you look at those guys, Likely and the third guy, I can't remember his name, but they're all quick block guys that can get open and make plays with the ball in their hand.
He
guys.
was Likely was really
Andrews,
good from Coastal Carolina a couple years ago.
yeah, and he was good for
He
them
was good
last year
year.
as a rookie. So it was
Yeah.
really odd that all of a sudden they couldn't utilize him. And like I was
It's
expecting
a new offensive coordinator.
Drew. And I guess I was really expecting them to come into the season with the idea of opening up more. And because they had the questions at receiver that we weren't sure who was going to really run away with the wide receiver room. Like Flowers had a good season, Odell's had some flashes. Like we've had some things. I was honestly ready to see them almost use Likely kind of like the Bills have used Kincaid. Like get him in the slot, get him as a body up in there, make a
He's a
safety
little
come
bit
down
bigger
and cover.
though.
Yeah, but he's still fast
not-
enough. We saw him
I
break
know,
a
but he's
60-yarder.
big. Like he's not a slot tight end.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, even if you flex Andrews out there, though, and have him be the inline guy, like, there's ways you could have got 2 playmakers
Yeah.
that are on the field. And I guess I thought we'd see that. But then the last 2 weeks, like we said, it was like they were like, Andrews is down, but our offense flows better when we work the middle out. And they've started doing that. And we saw like I said, likely caught that underneath drag that should have been a 7-yard catch.
Mm-hmm.
Guy misses the tackle, and he's got the speed. He opened up and took the sideline for, was it 50 yards?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So I think that's the big difference is that they're, like you said, they're starting to trust those guys more.
Yeah, it's the new offense. Lamar not used to having to be able to pass like this.
And Keaton Mitchell.
And yeah, Keaton Mitchell is he's a stud. Like
Keaton
it's just
Mitchell.
it's one of those things just because it's everything is new. Because the offense was so like completely different that once you started getting used to your offense, you lost the number one weapon that you depended on. And then after that it was kind of like shit. I don't know what to do now.
And then
I got to figure something else out. And because he even last year, he threw to Likely, but the offense was still somewhat the same. It wasn't that much different with Andrews and them out, but it was because it was an offense that he had been running for like 4 years.
True. And the other thing that I think helps them is the fact that they got that they had that late bye. Because they lost
that too.
They lost Andrews against Cincinnati. They played a bad Buffalo. They played an average Los Angeles team, now a bad and Los Angeles team. But then they got their bye before they played the Rams. I think that really helped kind of give them the ability to get that because their season closes out hella hard. They play Jacksonville, San Francisco, Miami, and then they play Pittsburgh. So their next 3 games are similar to how hard the Dolphins' 3 games are. And that's why it kind of opens up another team in that division, like a Ravens or a Bengals, to come up and bite you in the ass because the Bengals don't have as hard of a schedule and they're seeing play out of their quarterback.
Which is crazy.
It's
really crazy.
This entire thing is, but then, like I said, I'm going to go, I want to go Baltimore. Because of so many factors, and then you get to the Monday night game. Philadelphia plays Seattle. If Seattle gets willing to use the ball down the field, we know that's where the Eagles struggle.
Yeah.
Go ahead. The problem is...
Throw it to DK.
Throw it to DK. Throw it to Tyler Lockett. Throw it to Jackson Smith. Literally, I'm never an advocate of just abandoning the run, but if you run the ball more than 15 to 20 times in that game, you're idiots. Because that's where you're feeding into the only strength the Eagles defense has. This is what we do. This is our offense. And that's the problem with Pete Carroll. At some point, you have to just say, I don't need to run the ball right now. I'm going to win outside all day, even if my quarterback is average at best. Geno is a hit or miss, average at best quarterback. Yeah. You could get better. Hell, talk about teams that could take Justin Fields. I'd take Justin Fields over Geno Smith with all those weapons. Yeah. Oh my God, that offense. Thinking about that would happen. Woo. But point of the thing is you look at all that and you're just like, God, they'd be so fast.
I did not think of that. That would be something else right there.
Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet running read options with Justin Fields, and then the RPO game with Jackson Smith and. Oh, God, man, all that team would need is someone to be a halfway decent tight end, and God, it would be over.
Man, tell you what,
trying to go get Matt. I'm gonna go buy a PS5 again just so I can trade Fields to the Seahawks and just run the league.
Just say how it goes.
Screw you, Stanford. God, but like I said though, I think I'm gonna still go and say though that Philly bounces back.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be where they finally. Because they're coming out of their gauntlet now. So.
But you're Seattle, you have to win this game. This is Seattle.
If you're Philadelphia, you have to win this game.
This is the difference for Dallas or for Seattle. This is the difference in a playoff spot.
Especially because they play after Dallas. So if Dallas does end up winning, that is a must win, or you're no longer in first place in your division. That means they took over.
Yeah, it's. I'm going back through kind of where we had picked because I reset the screen here, basing it off of a couple of matchups that we had a little. I reset the screen and it's still locked in San Francisco by itself. Even the computer knows there's no chance they lose. Let's see here. All right, so just look at it. If everything played out the way we talked about, say we switch some switches here. Say the Eagles win their game. And Dallas was to lose to the Buffalo. Dallas stays the 5. Philly's the 2 seed now. San Fran's holding the 1. Detroit's the 3 seed if they beat the Broncos. The Falcons would take over the lead in their division. If they won, the Bucks lost, and the Saints won, they hold the tiebreaker, so the Falcons would be in first, and the Packers would be there. But then we talk about all these games that could go either way. Say Seattle gets the upset. Say the Broncos get the upset. Say the Bears beat the Browns. That legitimately is a possible matchup. Say Dallas beats the Buffalo Bills. Looking at those, I don't know that there's any other just true toss-ups. I think it's safe to say the Bengals beat the Vikings. Hell, I'm not going to say that the Jets defense can't beat the Dolphins. But you make those switches, and it keeps... Dallas obviously jumps into the 2 seed, which they can't... as long as they have the same record as San Fran, they cannot get the 1. So the best they get is the 2. But as good as they've been at home,
Fran,
you want to host a
the
home
only
playoff
team
game.
that's locked into the playoffs right now.
Correct. Yes, they're... Dallas and Philly haven't clinched playoff spots yet? Oh, I thought they at least clinched playoff spots. But, I mean, how that would all hold out, that would put a first round for the... you'd have the Ravens still in first by 2 games over Kansas City, Miami, and then Jacksonville slides. Jacksonville would be tied if these results held. Jacksonville's tied with the Colts at 8-6 and just holds the tiebreaker.
Okay.
Like, that's how close the Broncos are now sitting as the 7 seed. The Cleveland Browns are the 5 seed, and the Ravens are a 3-game lead. So they don't lock their division up by any means. But then we talked about they could easily lose their last 3 games in a row. Like San Francisco, where was it? The Ravens. I said who they play, but I can't see what time of day they play at.
This week?
No, it'll be week 17.
Week 17, the Baltimore Ravens, Dolphins at noon.
Yes, there it is, right there. At home. Say they beat. So, even still, say they lose the Dolphins just because theoretically it's possible. I don't think they're going to, but it's possible. And then you look down at the Ravens playing. I'm wondering to see if they can lose their division. It's really what I'm trying to figure out. If the Browns were to win out, could the Browns win the division? With Joe Flacco. Against the Ravens, how great would that be?
That would be funny.
Oh my God,
that
the poetic of that. Like, you didn't even think about that story until you start painting it all together. Oh my gosh, where is he? The Ravens would play, which we'll probably start seeing the schedule flexes and all that. Oh, they play the Steelers last week of the season, so they'll win the last game. So it won't matter. They'll win the last game and they'll be okay.
Unless they've got it locked and they
or they lose to Jacksonville this week. Because if they lose to Jacksonville this week, and Cleveland goes and wins out with 4. If Cleveland wins their next 3 and the Ravens lose 3 out of the next 4, then the Cleveland Browns would jump to the right.
Oh, wow.
They could get... Yes, like the Browns can not only win... If the Browns were to win out, there's a chance the Browns can be 12-5 and look at a 1 seed.
After losing everybody that
with
they
all
lost,
the season
crazy.
of the turmoil that franchise has been through. If you want to talk about Coach of the Year candidates, like even if they miss the playoffs, his name needs to get a vote.
Yeah.
Like it's
been
too. He's gone through too much. It is wild.
Well,
how it all could shake out.
With that, I think we should probably move to.
I better touch on the other stuff. We can play the what if game all night.
Yeah, we're at an hour and
8 minutes. Okay, cool. So we'll talk about other stuff about 20 minutes, and then we'll.
All right, NCAA football, baby. So Jaden Daniels won the Heisman,
as he should have.
He also won the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm.
Yeah,
he also won the Davey O'Brien, which is the quarterback award.
Yeah,
and he also won the Walter Camp Player of the Year.
He's gonna win the Saints starting quarterback job next season. That is my new hope. I want Jaden Daniels to go to the Saints.
My updated mock, I have him going to the Raiders at 6. So, because right now the Saints are at 12.
That would be funny that he kind of moved back to the West after leaving Arizona State.
And then so he won that. Ollie Gordon, the running back from Oklahoma State, he won the Doak. Brock Bowers won the John Mackey, which is the tight end award. Penix won the Maxwell Player of the Year award. And then, of course, this is the one that you probably don't like, but Marvin Harrison won the Biletnikoff.
I went half and half on it. I can accept the lesser quarterback play excuse, but I still think that we base so many of these awards off stats that I think we should have played. If you're going to play the stats game, play the stats game all the time. That's
I mean, that is true.
that's my
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
And that's why the whole MVP discussion for the NFL is a thing. Because if we're going to play the stats game, Tyreek Hill could be the MVP if he goes up 2,000 yards. But you're not going to give it to him.
No.
So, back to that.
And then
Brian Bosworth Award.
the
Not Bosworth, Brian Bullsworth.
is that the walk-on?
That's the walk-on. It's the
Okay.
kid from, goodness. He was a running back. I can't remember what. You know what the Bullsworth Award is? The walk-in one. Have you ever seen the documentary on that?
No, but I saw you posted in the group that there was a documentary.
It's a docu-movie, I guess, technically, like, of the backstory of him. If you're ready to man cry, you watch this movie. It's so good.
There it is.
Yeah, there he is.
The Burlsworth Trophy,
Yeah, Bullsworth.
which is
Cody
Cody
Schrader.
Schrader.
Where does he play at? Missouri. The running back from Missouri. That's where he's at. Yeah, he had a really good season. And if you haven't watched it, I look it up. The Bullsworth movie. I'll find the name and drop it on the Facebook page or something. But
Okay.
it is one of those man cry movies. It's also one of those. You know those movies where you watch where they kind of subtly are throwing the religious thing at you, but there's sometimes where they'll overdo it if you're not wanting to get that. There's a little bit of the religious element to it, but it's done in a very tasteful way. It's not, in my opinion, it's not like slammed over your head the whole movie. You're like, oh, okay, I can accept this. It's got oh my goodness, I can't remember his name. The guy, he's in Yellowstone, which by the way I started. It's fantastic. I'm 3 seasons in about a week. It's fantastic. He plays in the second season. You know the 2 rich dudes, the lawyers that are trying to buy everything.
Neil McDonough.
Huh?
Neil McDonough.
Is that his name? I don't remember.
the blonde-headed guy with blue eyes?
Yeah, he plays him.
Neil McDonough.
Yeah, he's in.
Love him.
I love the guy. He's in so many things that I like. He's in The Arrow. He's in he comes up in shows and I'm like, shit, you're in this too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's
Walking
in.
Tall.
Yeah, he's in so many of them. He plays like the main lead. That's kind of going through the story with him. He's the big brother of Bullsworth.
Okay.
So yeah, really good. So if you
Okay.
need a movie, an actor reference to enjoy it about.
So you got Dylan Gabriel going to Oregon.
Yeah, transfer portal, which
Riley Leonard
Surprised me
transferred to Notre Dame.
also a surprise there. We were way off
actually,
on
you know
transfer
what's
lists.
funny? I have this little list right here of best fits.
Yeah.
Riley Leonard, Notre Dame, Dylan Gabriel, Oregon. This was
I guess
on Thursday.
our
So it was
thing.
before.
Yeah, I guess, but from when we talked about it, some of the things that we talked about, I just felt like made sense. Like
Yeah.
DJ going to play with his brother at
Yeah.
Oregon made sense. Riley Leonard following his coach, who he has had success with.
Mhm.
Like honestly, Riley Leonard is an NFL prospect quarterback. I would have stayed with where I'm familiar. I would not have changed that. Kyle McCord transferring still doesn't make much sense to me unless you knew you weren't going to get the job next year. Unless they told
He's
you we're
not,
not
yeah.
going to have a chance
Yeah,
at
he's
getting the
not.
guy next year.
So, and on that, the rumor right now is that he's heading to Nebraska. That he's going to be signing somewhere this week. That they're also likely landing number 1 5-star quarterback Dylan Raiola.
Yeah, like he might switch commitments, which
Yeah.
is crazy and super sad because the kid from Rockwall, Jackson Smith's quarterback in high school, Braden Locke, he is actually at Nebraska. He's the all-time passing yardage leader in the state of Texas off football history. He played in 2 games this season, led a game-winning comeback in 1 game, but then the starter came back, and so I was kind of hoping that he would get to be the guy next season. It doesn't sound like he's going to get a shot.
He's going way down the roster.
Yeah, and he transferred there from Mississippi State, so he can't even transfer again without being. Yeah.
So now, and then you still got Cam Ward and Ugalele, who have yet to go anywhere. There's a few other quarterbacks, but those are the bigger names. And then you have Dion stocking off his offensive line.
Yeah, beefing it.
And not only that, but he said that next week he is going to focus on defense. All he's been focusing on is offensive line.
Yeah.
That's it.
And he's done it. He got the top high school recruit. He got 3 of the top guys in the transfer portal to come. His quotes right now are, and I mean, we've made this reference too because of how weak the Big 12 is next season, for especially, that they're going to come to Colorado's going to come to the Big 12, and either them, Arizona, and maybe Oklahoma State as the only team that's still there are going to run the show.
Yeah.
We're going to a 12-team playoff next year. If you want to go in and put a low budget bet right now for a chance to make the college football playoff or win the Big 12, it's the Colorado Buffaloes win the Big 12 next year. Because I guarantee you're probably getting them at a 700 to 1 or something asinine like that because they went 4-8 this season. But the problems were their offensive line and defensive consistency. They kept all the offense.
Yeah.
They literally kept all of their skill players. No one transferred out of their starting skill players. They got to fix drops, but they have what might be the number one quarterback in the nation next year. Like, going into next year's draft prospect boards, like, he's going to be in the debate list.
He'll be up there. I think.
Who would be the
Cam
other guy?
Ward is going to be the guy that a lot of people are looking at.
Isn't he old enough to have gone to the league now, though, and he didn't? See,
I
Cam
don't
Ward's
think
draft
that really
eligible
matters. Oh,
this
you know
year.
what? Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe, too.
Yeah, so you'll have no. So there'll be guys, but he's going to be in that conversation.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to go to the combine if he has a good season as a guy that we're like, because there's not a. I don't feel like next year's draft has a runaway first pick.
No,
Not
there's,
like this
there's,
year has a
yeah,
couple
there's
of
not
guys.
there's not a
Yeah.
Caleb or a May in that draft.
Yeah, so you're looking at it and can literally see a path where
Unless
they
something
might have
happens next year where you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this guy took the
Well,
next
I mean,
step.
if Milroy keeps progressing, you don't know what that guy's
Yeah.
going to be because he's looked ridiculously good so far. So.
Another thing on the transfers, you got Trevor Etienne is rumored to be going to Georgia. So that's going to be a big move for him.
Yeah.
And then it was announced today that Malik Murphy is in fact going to be entering the transfer portal after postseason. So for
Which
the
is the
Texas Longhorns now third string quarterback, which
okay.
is a 5-star quarterback.
Yeah,
It just
but he's not.
You're-
Well, once his name said he was going to come back, he knew that there goes any chance.
Yeah.
Because at least next year he could have had the fight with Arch.
Yeah.
And fought for it to plead a starter. Once that goes out the window, yeah, I'd get out of there too. I mean,
yeah. So he's on his way out. And then the biggest news story of college football is the college football playoff. We talked about it last week, but just going into a little bit more, the Florida Attorney General has opened up an investigation into the playoff committee to figure out
oh my
what
God.
just went into their selection. Like it's not an actual lawsuit or anything yet. It's just an open investigation to understand and see what they did to come up with their decision, to see if they wasn't influenced, because that's what they believe. Like the actual state of Florida Attorney General is doing it. Like they believe that something is really like kind of up.
Goodness.
So yeah. So there's that, and jump into the next thing because that's pretty much all that's going on in college football. I don't really want to bring them up yet, but so I'll skip them, and we'll talk about how about them Mavericks? How about Daddy Luka?
Yeah.
Because Headband Daddy Luka is probably the star of the NBA right now. Dude is averaging 35 points a game since he became a daddy. Like,
Is it
something in Dallas is
about
going
their
on
baby?
with
Well, I
these
ain't
dudes
trying-
becoming daddies.
They have fun with that because I ain't trying to have no more.
Because Dak turned into MV Prescott, and now you got Luka turning into
Yeah. Especially with
Luka
Kyrie down.
MVP.
Playing with Kyrie down, he's going to have to take it to that next level. I mean, there's no option there. They've, won 4 in a row, it looks like?
Like,
Yeah.
he's been a stud, dude. Of course, the biggest part of this is the Mavericks are the first team in NBA history to beat the defending
Oh, shut up.
in-season LA Laker champions.
Oh, my God.
Go Mavericks!
Hot mess with that damn in-season tournament. I guess that segues in. Are we going to talk about that there?
Yes.
Segueing it in, we will. I'm sure everyone's seen the Kobe talk. I'm sure you have the quote written down if you want to say it.
The only banners that are hung in, what's the name of their
It was the Staples Center. but
Staples
it's
Center.
changed names now.
Yeah, whatever it is now, is championship banners.
Yeah, they
We
don't-
do not put up division banners
Or conference championship.
or conference championships. But now we're going to put up this little bitty thing.
We
it's
have
going to
a-
be different.
I didn't even see it on what it looks like.
I don't know.
But
It's
I-
supposed to be completely different.
I would almost, like I was saying, we talked about this in our pre-talk prep. I'm on the thought that it has to be a league thing. Like, you'd have to think that the league was like, hey, do us a favor and help make this a big deal. Kobe would have probably told them no, but he's not an owner of a team, so he didn't really get that kind of say. But yeah, that'll be that was all in all though. Now that the tournament's over,
First off, LeBron was the first one going, heck yeah, we're going to hang that sucker.
Hey,
that's my 5th one right there, baby.
That's 2 banners that he's put in the rafters. But no, just looking at it, like you have to give the season across has been fun. The tournament did add a little wrinkle of entertainment, like it did. I'm not saying that's something that I made sure to tune in for, but it did add something to it. And like we said, across the board though, it's been a fun season. Like, you've got only 3 teams that are just genuinely awful. Everyone else is just like bad or needing to figure out some stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Detroit Pistons, you realize were 2-1 to start the season. You know what they are now?
Oh man, whew. No, I don't.
They're 2-22. They've lost 20 in a row. And like, here's the worst part about this. Like, I feel bad for these people because they haven't played that bad. Like, when you look at their players, Cade Cunningham, their number 1 pick point guard, 22 points. Now, he had injury issues, and he's healthy this year. 22 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal. Turnovers are high. There's your problem there. But a lot of people turn the ball over now. Bojan Bojanovic is going to be a guy that everyone wants to trade for. He's instant offense.
Yeah.
That's 17.5 points a game. Jalen Duran, a center, 12.5 points, 11 rebounds a game, block and a half. Like, they're guys that they're this young movement. Oster Thompson, their first-round rookie, he's averaging 11 and 9. Like, they've got guys that are playing good basketball. It's just that poor James Wiseman can't even crack the rotation there. He's so bad. Like,
man, he was
a number 1 pick. He was the right pick at the time.
Yeah.
I understand there were better players, but for what Golden State needed, he was the right pick for picking the best of the, if you're picking by need, but that's the classic example of why you don't pick need.
Yeah.
You draft.
Especially in the NBA.
Exactly. There's 5 people, you can
that.
rotate the positions, make a small guy do it. That's why I'm a strong candidate of pick the best football player, basketball player, baseball player, whatever sport you're in. Pick the best player available and find a way to make that player play, or trade someone else to open up that opportunity if you have to. Pick the best player available. Yeah, pick the best player available. Yes, like you said, like Portland did, and they're turning it around a little bit. I think they're 6-16 now, but like they were I think they were like 2-9 to start, or 2-10 to start.
Oh,
so they're
okay,
starting to play better.
So they're doing a little bit, okay.
But I mean, they're like right now. Every team in the 1 through 7 in the Eastern Conference is coming off a win. The whole freaking top half. The 6th seed in the conference is 13-9. Like, that's not a bad record right now, this early in the season. Where the 6th seed in the West is the Lakers at 14-10.
Who's got a 14-point lead over San Antonio and doesn't even have LeBron playing.
Yeah, San Antonio is also
86-72.
Yeah, Wemby's gonna lose a Rookie of the Year because of how bad the Spurs are. Because right now it's between him and Chet, and if you look at the numbers, Wemby is pacing him in all the categories. But when you look at the plus minuses and you look at the shooting percentages, like all that stuff, that's what's getting Chet the nod right now. Like, Chet is on pace to win the Rookie of the Year because that, and because of everything going on off the court, even though they're letting him play, Josh Giddey is not playing good basketball right now. And so the Thunder need
That's very, just being a distracted player.
Exactly. And so the Thunder need Chet to step up. They need these other guys to play because you counted on Giddey as a key contributor to your team. And it's working. They're the number 2 seed. I mean, the only team that's lost in the West recently is Minnesota. We're getting closer because we're the 2 and the 3. We can catch them now.
Okay. Yeah, so speaking of teams in the West, you got to talk about what's going on in Golden State.
Oh, and the Clippers. Holy smokes.
Because Draymond has now officially been indefinitely suspended.
Yeah.
He's got to go through some things before
off the court trainings and all that
before they allow him to come back. So there's no telling how long it's going to take. I believe there's a minimum. They're just not saying the minimum, but there's going to be a minimum time.
I bet it's 15 games.
I would say so.
They gave him 5 games for the last one. They'll look to send a true message. I bet he gets 15 games, and they'll around game 13 they're gonna come out and say we've decided at 15 games he's done well, and they'll let him off the hook.
So you got that, and then I saw today that apparently Klay Thompson's
Playing like ass.
time could be done in Golden State.
He won't.
So he had a 2-year, $48 million extension at the beginning of the season, and apparently they pulled that.
Yeah,
Like there's no longer.
He
a deal
didn't
on
sign
the
it because he wanted to meet because that's half of what his current salary is. This season he's making $43 million, so that would have been half yearly for him to do it.
Oh.
And so he didn't sign it right away because he's a prideful NBA player. They don't want to take less. He wanted to prove he was healthy, and he's healthy, but he's just not the same basketball player anymore. He's a catch and shoot guy. He's not going to be able to do anything else. He's not a defender anymore. The other night their entire starting lineup got benched, and they ran out Steph, Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski, guys like that. And their best defender, Gary Payton's hurt. And they almost won the game with all the backups because Steph's not bad. It's just that the starting rotation of Kevin Looney, come on, man. Kevin Looney's 6'8". He's done it. He's a good backup center. If you're the Golden State Warriors, it's time to run out, what's his name? Brandon Podziemski, the rookie, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, all these guys that you think had something, now's the time to find out. Find out what you've got. You get Chris Paul more minutes, make him a valuable asset that you can ship off to somebody else.
Yeah. Get
Him traded to the Lakers at the deadline for nothing. That'll be it. He'll end up with his buddy. And he's still a quality player, but he's not a move the needle guy. He's now what all those guys used to do. We used to crap on the guys that are for super teams, but you remember on the old guys.
Well, I mean,
when
they're
what
older,
age
just trying to chase
and
a ring,
that's what they're doing.
To me,
They're
it's
making
not really.
They're making name super teams because there's these guys that have held on this long. But here's the crazy thing: is the league. When we talk about guys that are ring chasing back then, it was around the age of 32 that we started seeing these guys ring chase back then. Guys would jump in teams, 32, 33, 34. That was that ballpark. What if I told you,
What are you talking about back then?
We're talking guys like 80s, 90s guys in that ballpark. We're talking guys like Charles Barkley started really chasing him in the mid 30s. That's when they start doing it.
No, he got traded from the 76ers. They got rid of him.
Yes, but
he wasn't ring chasing. They got rid of him and sent him to Houston.
Yes, I mean
it's not really ring chasing. You're
gonna
getting
assume,
sent away.
You're going to assume that in some way, though, it's not there just because we don't talk about it the same back then. That these guys that were star profile players had a conversation in the room of how these trades went out.
No.
You think they had no play back then in it?
I don't.
We're talking 25 years ago now.
Yeah, no, I don't think that players had.
They don't have nearly the sway they have now.
Not even close.
No.
Jordan didn't even have it.
Yeah, but I guess when I think about some of the mailman, all these guys that started making the late moves to their team, it was that middle to 30s to late 30s. That's usually when it happens because that's when your career falls off. That's why. Steph's 35 right now, and he's still one of the best players in the league. Here's the thing: is what if Steph was to leave Golden State? I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I think he retires a Warrior. He's done everything he needs to be one of the best ever. But if Steph was to leave, to go after one more ring, do you fault Steph as a ring chaser, or do you look at Steph as a guy like Chris Paul, who's only 38? We're talking a 3-year difference here.
It depends.
Why? Because he's still playing good?
Yeah. Because Mailman, when he went to the Lakers, that last season in Utah was, if I remember, it was not as good. You could tell that he had lost a step. And whenever he went to the Lakers, it was 100% clear that he had lost steps. And then Gary Payton as well. He had, for some reason, he just decided to play 8 more years on benches just so he could try to get a ring.
And he kept getting contracts and chasing rings. That was I was just curious, at what line do we draw it in ring chasing versus I'm just an old guy that's ring chasing, or I'm just an old guy that's good enough to win the ring?
Chris Paul's level, where Chris Paul is out at now, not age-wise, but where you're at.
Chris Paul's still averaging 9, 7, and 4 with 40% from the line as a bench player. Like he's a sixth man of the year candidate with those numbers.
So like at that point when you're looking at it, like that's the type of person I would say would be ring chasing at that point.
Yeah, so
because he's no longer that superstar level
but
of player.
If he's I guess my question becomes then is if he's traded to a team like Oklahoma, he's just a veteran that can help bring minutes off the bench, you know? But if he's traded to a team like Boston, or he's traded, because we can see that he's still productive. If Chris Paul is traded to Boston, Los Angeles, any of these teams that we've already think have a core established star players, are you holding that against him? Because we know Chris Paul's been trying to get rings for his whole career. I'm just curious, before we touch on baseball real quick, like where do you... being a productive basketball player still.
I mean, productive is fine. Like, because I'm looking at it right now. So, Karl Malone's last year in Utah, he was averaging 20.
How old was he?
And he was 39.
Okay, so he was a little older then.
So that was his last year in Utah. He was 40 years old with the Lakers. And 1 year he played for, he retired with 13.
Because the Lakers, they definitely tried to star stud with a bunch of old dudes.
Yeah, him and Karl Malone and Gary Payton were added to that team, and they made it. They just didn't win.
Yeah.
But that was the year the Pistons beat them.
I think so. With
Ben Wallace, Rasheed
Wallace, but nah, the
Chauncey
people.
Billups.
I was gonna say the ones that aren't talked about enough. We all talk about the Wallace boys, Chauncey Billups, and the one that wore the mask.
Rip Hamilton.
Yes, Rip Hamilton was a stud.
Yeah.
I loved Rip Hamilton. All right.
Dude, I heard a story about him where apparently he was one of the meanest people on the court because he would like dig his long fingernails into you when he was like guarding you just to piss you off and throw you off your game.
That's awesome. They don't do it now. All right, that said, we'll slide into baseball real quick because it's still not super active, but we did have the one. There is 700 reasons to talk about baseball for a second there. And
we can talk about 680 of them.
Oh, actually, we really only have to talk about 20 of them.
Two of them.
We only have to talk 20 of them for the next 10 years,
yeah.
And then we can talk about them great. So if you don't know, Ohtani obviously signs the big contract. That is the greatest contract I've ever seen a player set up, though, in I'm doing this because I want to win, and I don't give a shit what the organization looks like when I leave. Because the Dodgers are going to be damn good if he's healthy and everything works out. They're going to be damn good for the next 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, however long they can keep putting players around him. Then they're just going to be ass.
Yeah.
$68 million is a lot of money. Now, I'm sure there's a deferral system
going to
that's
end
going
up
to
deferring it to where he's basically going to get paid until he's 90 years old.
The problem is, though, that the only thing I hate about that is what if he doesn't live long enough to get all of his money?
It goes to the family.
If the contract's with the player or is it with the team? Because if I'm going to get deferred money like that, my contract's going to say it's going to the next of kin.
It's going to, and because right now it's only going to be for that 10 years.
He'd be 37 when that contract's up, I believe.
If
39.
they decide to renegotiate to do a different deferral, because they would have to renegotiate.
Yeah, then you'll have to go.
Then you would go, look, I'm going to be dead before then, so we're going to do this where it's going to go into a trust so that once I die, the rest of this is going to my family.
I'm getting my money. That was our agreement.
Because there was actually something pretty cool that I was talking to some other friends about because they brought this up and how it was so similar to Bobby Bonilla and King Griffey Jr. And like it's not at all, because what they did was basically going, hey, you're getting rid of me. I'll defer my contract so you're not going to kill your team for 2 years and you can just pay me for 15, 20, 30, 40 years down the line, just this small amount. And I was like, the difference is that Bonilla and Griffey, Bonilla starting it, what they did was they deferred that amount and then tacked on interest to it so that they would make Bonilla making $1 million every year until 2035, and then King Griffey Jr. is going to be making $3.96 million until 2037. And then you have Ohtani, who just decided, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to do it on this contract with playing for you. Like, they
Yeah.
did it to leave a team
it
so that
almost
they
shouldn't
wouldn't
even
be
be
hurt while they're
legal.
going. Yeah.
It shouldn't even
He's
be.
doing it going, hey, we going to win some games,
And
so
it-
I'm going to defer my contract so that you could get people on this team with me so that we could win
And the tax,
multiple championships.
The tax system behind it and all that, it's going to be so weird because pro athletes have to pay taxes in every state that they play in. He's obviously going to make a bunch of endorsement deals, but he's going to have to pay taxes on the $2 million base contract floating around the country. And then they're going to have to figure out how the hell they're taxing this money on the back end. Like, it is going to be a disaster.
Like, by that time, it's going to be back in Japan.
True, but he's still getting paid out of California, so he's going to have to get paid at least state tax.
Okay.
So he's going to have to pay something. He can't get paid unless, hell, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. That's all but my head. That said, the other guy, the couple other moves, Will Smith went to the Royals. The Royals also signed Seth Lugo for their bullpen, so the Royals are going to win the World Series. Will Smith wins the World Series.
He wins another one.
That would be insane.
Wow.
The Giants get the KBO outfielder Young Ho Lee, 6
Young
years,
Ho Lee.
113 with an opt-out after 4 seasons. I didn't see that part of the deal. That's interesting because
Oh.
he's only like 28 or 29, so he
Wow.
could go play somewhere else. But good move there. He's very Ichiro-like, is what we talked about. He has power. He doesn't play with power. He's only a 20 home run a season kind of guy, which is good, but not like 50 like you see guys hit. He's a 340 batting average, a 405 on base guy. Like he's what you want in your 1 or 2 hole. Like you want him on base. And then the Pirates signed Rowdy Tellez. I want my best hitter batting 2 hole on my team. Oh, wrong 2 hole. I got it now. My bad. So that's it. Oh, and then of course we didn't really talk about last week, but Juan Soto to the Yankees.
Yeah.
It kind of happened as we were finishing up last week. Honestly, they didn't really get anything back, and they got 2 starting caliber outfielders and Trent Grisham. So boo on the Yankees getting better. They'll look better. They still got pitching issues to address, and with the Dodgers getting Ohtani and taking this deal, it sounds like they're going hard for oh boy out of Japan, Yoshimida or whatever it is. I would not be shocked if he goes there and we just see the Dodgers run out with that. And just, I mean, they need pitching because right now they have a great 3-man hole in their lineup. But we saw if you ask, we saw if you don't have pitching, it doesn't matter. So, but that's really all it is on the baseball front. We'll have to get into more.
One other little thing on Ohtani.
Okay.
He broke the record for jersey sales. In 48 hours.
Yeah.
Over Lionel Messi with his Inter Miami jersey. So that is now his and it's probably not going to get.
Look what ESPN projected Ohtani's contract at. 10 for $520.
Wow.
They were off by $180 million.
Yeah.
They're never off that much. Sorry. So how much was the jersey break?
They didn't say.
Oh.
They just said that he smashed it.
And it's surprising.
Like, it
He had
was
all as big worldwide as Messi is. Ohtani is an entire country.
Yeah.
Like everyone in Japan wants Ohtani.
And then now in America.
So
America.
Yamamoto's being projected to get $212 million in 7 years.
That's
'cause
it.
He'll
he's
only
gonna get more than that.
He'll only be 25 on opening day. So just be known that kid's going to be good. He's gonna be good for a while. I didn't realize Blake Snell's only 30. He'll be 31. So he still hasn't gotten paid yet either. Yeah, and Cody Bellinger hasn't gotten paid yet. I mean, we got some big names that will start leaking out. Aaron Nola was signed already. Jordan Montgomery hasn't signed yet. So, and Josh Hader. But yeah, so other than that, I mean, I don't really have. I'd like to get more into the baseball, but as we get closer to the season, I think we'll start getting. Once the roster starts shaping, we'll start doing more of the. Here's what we're looking at as the season gets going. That's right around the time football season ends, right around the time we started our show. I will say this. It is the 13th. We probably won't film. We might film the week between Christmas and New Year's. Not quite sure. I'm working from home that week. We'll see how it plays out. Christmas falls on a Monday, so we could probably film the Wednesday before Christmas too if we want to. Because with how wild the end of the NFL season goes, we probably are going to try to.
So Wednesday the 20th and the 27th.
Yeah, so I would say we record the next 2 weeks, so maybe I'm premature in this, but I'd say that if we didn't even record an episode in January of next year, say we decided just to hang it up, I think one successful year.
Yeah.
That's better than anybody we know could have done.
That's better than the other podcasts I've been
We'll take our small win with that, whether our viewership is there or not. The fact that we recorded over 25 episodes come that point, over 56 weeks a year, solid. I'm not upset with how we did it.
We're
Worked on
enjoying
some
doing
things.
it.
Yes,
so
it
that's
gives
what
us.
matters.
I told my wife, I was like, the main thing is I don't really care that we don't have a ton of people watching us. I don't have as many friends. Like, I have friends that know sports, but all my friends are clumped in what sports they know, and none of them get in a depth like you and I do with the sport. And so, for me, it was kind of like talking medicine with a doctor. Like, I can talk sport in the nerdiest fucking way possible. Like, D&D talk sports with people, and you go, oh, I get that shit. And so that's what makes it fun for us, is y'all might learn something. We try to explain it a little easier when we do go into our weird tangents, but it's nice that we can get in and go, like, how many people can you talk about the linebacker that's going to go in the 4th round with?
Oh, no. Not very many.
Exactly.
I got Dustin and Cheyenne, and that's a lot of that is because they've kind of been with me for a long time of talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I've really put them more into mock drafting stuff.
Exactly.
So they've fallen into it. So they're like, hey, what do you got this week?
Who knows?
And I'm like,
maybe I do.
Didn't really work on it this week, so.
Who knows? Maybe I get frisky and try to throw one down.
Hey, I mean,
I've got enough knowledge base of it, paying attention, talking about you. I can play the game.
Like honestly, mock drafts are. I'm not going to say they're easy, but if you know tendencies,
That's
it
the
makes
part,
it so much easier.
Exactly, and I've learned a lot of that from talking with you. So if I can start to put together more of the tendency purposes and then kind of look at it, it would be fun because I don't know, it gives you that. Like, I've had fun doing the ones on the computer where you can quickly draft through and all that. Like, those are fun, but the idea of making my own, popping it out there and just seeing how it goes, like, it does sound fun. Like, this was for me, the original point of opening a show and doing this was kind of to take myself out of the comfort box that I'm not willing to say sometimes all the time. I'm the guy that'll type the message on Facebook and argue with you knowing that I can have all the stats to back my argument up and then delete that motherfucker and never hit send.
I don't.
No, you don't. You're ready to fight with everybody. And so it's fun to just say F it, open it out, say it. Like, the one thing I guess the only reason I wish we got a little more viewership of it is because it'd be fun to engage in the conversations with people that just walk up and say it. I also don't think that it would hurt. I mean, I also like that we got to do, like, the draft. We had a fun time doing that.
It was, and we had a pretty good turnout with people.
Yeah, and we even realized that we had the chats the wrong place, and we probably could have been even more engaging. So, that said, I mean, I'm not saying that we're going to try to blow the world with records or anything, but I don't see any time frame right now where it breaks up. Who knows? Maybe we shift our scheduling where we're like, hey, this week Tuesday's better for me. What about you? Who knows? I'm enjoying it. Mm-hmm. Especially that like we said, making it this long of a run, working around crazy schedules, vacations, jobs, and everything else. Like, just know it's been fun. I'm glad we've been able to keep making this fun run. So.
Definitely.
But that said, everybody have a good night or day or whenever you watched us, and we'll